You know the feeling. It's late, the lights are dim, the day is long gone, but your thumb keeps moving. One more video, one more post, one more story. You told yourself you'd only check for a minute, but an hour has passed. Then 2. And by the time you finally put the phone down, your mind is buzzing, your eyes are dry, and yet your heart feels strangely empty. This is the reality of digital overload. The quiet hours meant for rest have been stolen by endless scrolling. The very moments that could have given your mind peace have been traded for noise, distraction, and a flood of information you'll hardly remember in the morning. And though you may fall asleep at last, it is not the deep sleep of renewal. It is the shallow rest of a mind that never fully unplugged. Why do we do this? Why do intelligent, capable people who know better, lose themselves night after night in glowing screens? The answer lies not in weakness, but in design. The platforms we use are built to hook us. They tap into the most basic reward systems of the brain, releasing dopamine with every new post, every ping, every swipe. It is not that we are lazy or undisciplined. It is that our tools have been crafted to be addictive. And when you are tired at the end of a long day, when your defenses are low, that is when the lure is strongest. But addiction alone is not the whole story. Behind the scrolling lies something deeper. For many, scrolling is not just entertainment. It is escape. It is a way to avoid the silence that might otherwise meet us when the phone is set aside. Silence can be uncomfortable. It brings us face to face with ourselves, with our thoughts, our loneliness, our regrets, and our longings. And so, instead of facing them, we drown them in noise. The endless stream of content gives us the illusion of connection, the illusion of activity, the illusion of meaning. Yet illusions cannot satisfy. That is why, after hours of scrolling, we feel not nourished but drained. The truth is this: our minds were not made for this level of stimulation. For most of human history, the mind moved at the pace of nature, slow, rhythmic, balanced. There were pauses, silences, and natural limits to how much one could take in. A conversation ended when the sun went down. A story ended when it was told. A song ended when the singer's voice grew tired. There was space for reflection, for digestion of thought, for quiet. But now, the feed never ends. The conversation never stops. The stories flow endlessly. There is no natural limit, only the limit of our willpower. And when the mind is tired, willpower is weak. To reclaim your mind from digital overload is not about rejecting technology entirely. It is about remembering that your mind is precious and that not everything deserves access to it. Your mind is not a landfill for endless scraps of information. It is a garden, and it grows what you feed it. If you feed it chaos, it grows restless. If you feed it silence, it grows clarity. If you feed it wisdom, it grows strong. The choice of what you plant is yours, but the consequences are not optional. What you consume consumes you, so how do we break the cycle? It begins with awareness. The next time you find yourself scrolling endlessly, pause and ask, what am I seeking? Am I seeking connection, comfort, distraction, numbness? The act of questioning breaks the trance. It reminds you that you are not a prisoner, but a participant. Once you see what you are chasing, you can choose whether to continue or to stop. Second, create boundaries with intention. Decide when the scrolling ends before you begin. Set a time. Set a limit. It may feel restrictive, but in truth it is freedom. Freedom is not the absence of boundaries. It is the presence of the right ones. Just as a river is strongest when guided by banks, your attention is strongest when guided by discipline. Without banks, the river floods and loses its power. With them, it flows with force and direction. Third, replace mindless consumption with mindful presence. If you are reaching for your phone out of boredom, try reaching for silence instead. Close your eyes, breathe, notice the tension in your body. Allow yourself to feel what you were avoiding. Often, the restlessness that drives scrolling fades when we simply sit with it. The hunger for distraction weakens when we realize that stillness is not as frightening as it seems. And finally, cultivate what the ancients knew. That peace is not found in more, but in less. Socrates did not need a feed of endless voices to feel alive. He needed only a question, a friend to converse with, a moment of reflection. Lao Tzu did not need constant stimulation. He found wisdom in the stillness of nature, in the way water flows effortlessly. Marcus Aurelius, ruling the vast Roman Empire, found clarity not in noise, but in journaling his quiet thoughts to himself. They knew that the mind thrives not on overload, but on balance. The modern world tells us that we must always be plugged in, always be available, always be informed. But the soul does not thrive on endless availability. It thrives on depth, on connection, on moments of true presence. One deep conversation nourishes more than 100 shallow interactions. 1 hour of silence restores more than 5 hours of endless scrolling. One page of wisdom lasts longer than 1,000 posts of noise. You do not need to abandon technology. But you must remember that technology is a tool, not a master. The phone in your hand is not stronger than you. The feed is not stronger than your will. The algorithms are not stronger than your soul. You can choose to stop. You can choose to rest. You can choose to reclaim your mind. And when you do, you will discover something remarkable, the peace that comes from stepping out of the stream, the clarity that comes when the noise fades, the renewal that comes from real rest. Suddenly, sleep becomes deeper, thoughts become sharper, joys become simpler, life feels more like life and less like a blur of content. So tonight, when the urge to scroll comes, remember this: the feed will always be there in the morning, but your peace may not. Choose peace. Put the phone down, close your eyes, breathe, rest. Reclaim your mind from digital overload, not just for tonight, but for every tomorrow that deserves your clarity, your presence, your strength. Because in the end, you were not made to scroll endlessly. You were made to live deeply,